Alright y'all, in this video I'm doing a GPO fruit tier list for a 500 sub special. Really appreciate how much I've actually grown in this past month, and we're on the road to actually 1k already. I was so surprised when we grew this fast. But without further ado, if you want, like and subscribe, and even if you also want, turn on notifications. I would appreciate it. So let's get started. With the first fruit we have Kilo. Obviously, we all know this fruit. You go up, you go down, and you smash, you know. So I'm going to put it at D tier for now. And plus it's a common, so it only has 3 moves anyway. Spin fruit. For a common, it's actually not that bad. I've actually seen it in PvP a couple times. It has some decent combo potential, and the moves itself aren't that bad. So I'm going to put it at C tier for now. Although it's still a common, so it doesn't have any moves really. But it also has a flight, so that's why it's above Kilo. Suke, I would put probably in between either D or C, because being invisible can be useful, but at the same time, it's pretty much invalidated by Ken. So it's a hit or miss, and the rock throw sucks, and turning other people invisible uses a lot of stamina. So I think I'll put it at D for now. Cool fruit though. Next up we have the bomb fruit. The bomb fruit is really good in PvE, although it's not really good for anything else. It pretty much sucks for PvP. And it's the pretty much best thing it's for is dungeons and doing self-destruction. But other than that, it doesn't have much else use, so I'm gonna put it at C tier. Next up we have Horo. It sucks. It got nerfed. It used to be good for dungeons because you could use the astral projection to kill all the NPCs and they would target your astral projection, but they fixed that now. And Horo's moves don't do that much damage, so this is pretty much a PvP only fruit. So I'd either have to put it in D or C, especially for a rare. It's really bad. The Gum Gum fruit now. Now Gum Gum used to be very broken. If we're talking update 4 Gum Gum, easily B or A. You do an uplift into Gatling, it's a one-shot combo. But now that Gum Gum got nerfed, I'm probably gonna have to put it in C tier. However, it did get a slight buff because I had Gum Gum recently. The cooldowns did get a little tweak, but other than that, it's a C tier. I can't see it being a B tier though. Marrow is very good. I don't know if you guys seen this guy, Mr. Lumpia. He's done max stat Marrow. That thing hits hard. Marrow does not have a very low cap like all the other fruits that you would expect. Marrow's cap is actually pretty high, and it's really good for PvP. If you can't afford a Goro, this is what I would recommend if you're more on the broke side. But it's very good, and it does what it does well, so I'll put it at B tier for now. Bari, it's pretty much just defense. The skills themselves suck for offense, you know. You have the bubble, doesn't do any much damage. It doesn't do any damage at all, it just stops projectiles, which can be useful, but not that much. And the stairs are really bad mobility, and they scale with the more Devil Fruit, and nobody puts points into Devil Fruit because it does bad damage. It's really only useful for sword mains, or if you just melee main, I guess. So I'm gonna put it at probably C tier as well. Actually D tier, because it only pretty much has the defensive capabilities, and it's only good for going to wave 50 now. Pretty much that's it. Yomi is next. Yomi has a really good perk. The X ability gives you a second life. Obviously that's really good. Which means in PvP, if you're like a sword main or a black leg main, fishman, doesn't matter. It's really good. It also has, oh my god, the E ability. It has one of the longest stuns in the game. It's really long. Like, you would expect it to end in like a second or two. It's like a whole 3 seconds, maybe even 4. I don't know. I haven't had this fruit in a little while, but it has really good potential, so I'm gonna put it at B tier. Ito. I'll be honest, I had Ito. I did not like this fruit. It's only for PvP, and unlike Yomi or Marrow, the damage sucks on that fruit, and so does the scaling. And especially considering that it's a legendary fruit, and even in the anime, it was actually really strong. This fruit is not good. The only thing that does any good damage is pretty much the birdcage. The overheated whip does some decent damage, but other than that, parasitic strings, penachromic strings, and the string bullet, they pretty much suck. You're not going to do any damage with that. And the sky strings is pretty much its best thing. So I'll put it in C tier, I guess, since it is better than these fruits. Zushi. Zushi is very underrated. I feel like it should be worth way more than what it is, just because of how much potential it has, especially with the new buff. Now that Gravity Dominance is a block breaker, Gravity Pull is like 3 times the range, more AoE, it's easier to hit. And yeah, in the ultimate, it's really good for PvE, and it's one of the few barrage ultimates. It's actually able to keep up with Magu and Pika damage. Not so much Magu, but more or less Pika. Because if you have a decent amount of fruits, it actually does a lot. And it's a block breaker too. So it's a barrage block breaking ultimate. And the meteors are also good, so for now I'm going to put it in A tier actually. Up next we have Gura. Gura's a really good fruit, especially for PvE, because of its Blast Clutcher. However, for things like boss farming, it's not so good because this is mostly a multiple target fruit. You're not really going to be doing like stupid amounts of damage to like one target. It does have Blast Clutcher, which does a lot of damage, but 400 damage is a lot, but it's not good if you can do that unless you can't do that multiple times, and you have to hold it for a long time, and there's no point. And it's also really good for PvP due to the fact that it being all block breakers, which means it's also all Ken breakers. However, I will give this extra points just because of the fact that Mochi is now a new meta, and Future Sight can only be broken with block breakers. So Gura is almost a complete counter. So for now, I'll put it at B tier, since it's still a very good fruit, and the AoE is just insane. Next up, we have Suna. Suna is also kind of underrated. I do like this fruit a lot. It's one of my favorite. It's a really cool fruit, and especially Crocodile. I love him as a character. The weapon buff is also very good because it scales with Devil Fruit, and unless you're a sword main, if you're a Devil Fruit main with Suna, not only do you have crazy sandstorm damage, but you have the Dehydrate. And the Dehydrate scales with Devil Fruit, caps out at like 20-25, one or the other. And also, the thing is, with the Dehydrate, the more stamina the opponent has, the more you drain. And the more you get to yourself. So for now, but I don't think it's at a Zushi level, because the Railgun is mid, and so is Spada. So for now, I'll put it like B. It's like high B. Next up, we have Kage. Now, Kage is pretty interesting. It's not good for PvE, and for PvP, it's actually really mid. The only thing that's really good about it is, I guess, the Bat Swarm in the ultimate. The Burrowing Shadow sucks. It's hard to hit, and it has small AoE and knockback. The hand is okay. Once again, has knockback, and you have that animation where you can't move because of the animation's done. Same goes with the box, you can't immediately move, and it has some knockback, so it's not a true combo. Bat Swarm is also not a true combo, however, it's very close. And the silhouette is just very annoying to deal with in PvP. I've dealt with it. It's really annoying to deal with. It's not necessarily OP though. But since it's a legendary fruit, I'm going to have to put it at like high C above Ito. And I'm also going to reorganize what I think. Yep. Okay. Next up, we have Hiei. Hiei is very good for PvP, especially the new buff. Ice Stomp is now a block break. And I think there was another buff, maybe with Ice Age. I'm not sure. That could be misleading. But nonetheless, the fruit is amazing. And plus you get Logia, and you get to walk on water, which is only one of 2 fruits can do. So, it's really good. It also stuns, has 3 block breakers, and the E ability can be used for Kraken farming. It's not necessarily good, but if you get the max cap on the E ability is 80, so you could just spam that and kill Krakens and stuff, and bosses if you're accurate. But for PvP, it's really good. PvE, it's okay. It's a hit or miss. I'm going to have to put it like in between Suna, just because it's really not that good for PvE. And Suna's good for both, but it's not really as good as PvP. Paw, I actually had Paw recently. It's not a bad fruit. The cooldowns are a little long, kind of like Goro. The ultimate, definitely a solid hit. Especially when you're low, it could be a real game changer, especially considering the fact that it's a Tech Eye break. And pretty much the only other thing in this game that can do that is either getting jumped by like a bunch of Pikas or Magus or Flame Pillars or Zushi ults. Pretty much that. And like Bomu ult. That's pretty much it. But this thing can break Sekai by itself. Nothing else. So that's also pretty good. The damage is pretty good. I tried Fruit Main and Sword Main. Sword Main, it's pretty good. But honestly, I liked Fruit Main a lot more. Just because the barrage makes a lot more sense. And the moves are really easy to hit, is what I noticed. Because the E ability to block breaker, the R is a good counter. And the thing is, it scales with the more damage the opponent does, the more damage you'll do back. The X ability is the barrage. The Z ability, really good. Especially when you put like a decent amount of points into it. Like my Power Bomb did 300 plus damage easily. And I had 20 per barrage. Because I did have max paw stat. Well, not max, but nearly. I had like 800 something. High 800s. And the Rendivis, obviously, we all know that you TP someone, Magu. Really good for bounty farming. And the ultimate, the less health you have, the more damage it does. It's really good. I would put it above Suna. I just don't see it being A tier because it's just not good for PvE. Because it takes actually a decent amount of stamina. Doesn't have Logia, and the barrage move is very short range, and that's the thing about Paw. Does not have that great range. Alright. Moving on, we have Goro. Goro, it got a buff. The Lightning Dragon doesn't take as much stamina, which is really good now because that thing used to take 85 stamina. Now it takes like 50 or less, around that. Goro is obviously god tier PvP fruit. You get the Pulse Sun if you have also Mink and Pull with Goro. You get the dashes, Logia, Flash Smash, amazing block breaker, also has range. Goro, Lightning Wrath has good range. Lightning Dragon, good range. The ultimate, big AoE, pretty good damage if you're a fruit main. Lightning Paralyzation, true combo extender, really solid fruit. And for level farming, it's really good. I actually started with Goro. It's my first ever legendary, so I did do level farming with that. Amazing. I would highly recommend. Obviously, there's better stuff, but Goro is definitely like top tier. PvE, it's pretty good, and bosses, it's also pretty good. Although it's not the best, there is better. I will put it at low A tier though. So, yeah. Moving on, next we have Mara. Mara is really good. It's good overall, but it's not bad at anything, but it's not like the best at anything. It's good for PvP, not the best though. It's good for farming, but not the best. It can solo dungeons. It is the best for dungeons, however. That I will say. It can solo dungeons easily. Any map, Colosseum, the beach map, and Skypiea can solo easily. You maybe even get past wave 25, but no need if you're going to solo. I wouldn't recommend going past, but damage is good. The Hyken does 10 ticks of burn, which is really good for getting easy damage on Paramecias, especially if you have a lot of points into Mara. And plus, if they have bad Logia, it's also easy to get rid of it all, so that when you come with your bigger hits, it can do that. Mara Bomb, it's good, but it's not as good as Goro Bomb because of the ult. However, it makes up with that by doing more damage. Instead of doing 4 hits like Goro Bomb, it does 5 hits and burn damage. So it's pretty good overall. I will say though, Mara's weakness is water. No brainer. Because if it's a water fight, or you're trying to hit a Magu or a Hia in the water with Mara, you're going to struggle because it uses a decent amount of stamina. In your flight, you can't regen stamina. You can't infinite Geppo anymore. Well, you never could, really. Especially with that Geppo cooldown, too. So, pretty much, this fruit is good, but all your attacks disintegrate. So, it's a really good fruit. I recommend it if you can't afford Magu Pika. But, really good. Honestly, I put it S tier. Really good fruit. Because it's good for everything. You get it, you can do anything, pretty much. Next up is Magu. And I'm just going to say it, Magu's busted. I have it myself right now. I use it for boss farming and PvE. It's busted. And for PvP, you just do M1, M1, M1 Eruption, you know. It's super easy. The ultimate does the highest damage out of any ult in the game. Even Bomu ult, like, I have 1,000 points to Magu. It's a lot. But I do it for PvE. So I do 50 per ult hit. It does a total of like 2,800 or maybe even more. And then that's without burn on top of that. And the burn is the highest out of any fruit in the game. Eruption does 300 plus damage. It's busted, easy to hit. Magu Hound, it's good. It used to be better. It used to be a block breaker. Still amazing. Magu Fist, it's kind of the same thing, just slower, more AoE. Magma Swamp is like a second barrage, especially for bosses. It's not ranged though, so but easily S tier fruit, even better than Mara because yes, it can't solo, but it makes up with that with crazy amounts of damage. The damage on that fruit is insane. Next up, we have Pika. I really like Pika. Pika looks cool. The traveling, best travel in the game. However, the biggest downside to Pika is that its skills alone don't do that much damage. Like, other than the Z and the ultimate, the X move, the E move, and the R move just don't do that much. And it, out of all the fruits that do burn, it does do the weakest amount between Mara, Magu, and Pika. I'm not obviously counting like moves that do burn, like Overheated Whip, stuff like that, or like the Zushi meter. I don't count that. So, but it does do the least amount of damage out of all those. However, it's still a good fruit, but the one thing I cannot stand with this fruit is the amount of stamina that this thing takes. It takes a hell of a lot. My friend had 1,000 stamina in Pika, and I had like 700 with Mara. We pretty much had the same thing. Same items too. He would always run out before me. And Pika is really easy to predict. The X move, it's known for being perfect blockable. E moves, you would have to like trick people, like you would have to hold it for a little longer, but they might be able to get out of your range in the meantime. But overall, I put it like right under Mara. It's really close, but you know, it's still a good fruit nonetheless. Tori. Now this is before the revamp. It's a hit or miss. You're going to be playing support. You're not playing main offense with this, especially not in a 2v2. Its PvE potential, it's really bad. You're just spamming one move and that's it. And you need a lot of points into that move for it to do damage. And it's really weird. It's like all around the place, right? For the talons, you need sword damage, but if you want to do the good burn with the talons, then you need more devil fruit. And the thing is, the burn damage on Phoenix is a lot different, or Tori, whatever you want to call it, is a lot different than regular burn damage because you get a like 20%, 30%, around that. 30% of the burn damage that you do total is turned into health. So that's really good. And also the healing skills with devil fruit and so do the other skills. But the talents don't, which is really annoying because if you want to do high talent damage, you're going to have low devil fruit. Or if you want to do good at both, you're going to have really low HP or stamina, and it takes a lot of stamina to heal. And the more stamina, the more the points in devil fruit you have, the more you heal, but the more stamina it takes. So honestly, I put it like, honestly, either really, really, really high C tier, or honestly, like just below Suna. I've tried that fruit. I don't like it. Actually, I'll put it below Hiei, just because it doesn't even provide much, because the R ability is wasted by the half form, which nobody uses. You don't have an X ability, and pretty much the only damaging skills you have are two, the ultimate and the Z, and the talons you have to have sword points. Now next up is Mochi. I've had Mochi. It's good, don't get me wrong. I'm not the biggest fan of the fruit anymore, but it's definitely a good fruit. I will say Future Sight does add a lot of points though, because there's a lot of times that in PvP and PvE, I would have died easily if I didn't have Future Sight. Easily. And it also makes you a lot harder to hit, allows you to get M1 priority, because if someone tries to M1 you don't have that knowing observation stun. It's just like as if they didn't have Hockey. So it's really useful to get M1s off, especially in PvP. The skills, they do really good damage, I will be honest. The E ability, it's one of, if not my favorite E ability in the game. It's really busted too. Has good range. But the thing is, Mochi doesn't really have any projectiles, so most of it's like punching related, which means it doesn't have that much range. Even though I just said that, like it's kind of like a Suna, because the Mochi drops and the E ability, they're kind of like Suna Sandstorm. Like once you land it, you kind of let it to do its thing, or you can add on to it. That's the kind of thing with Mochi you have going on. And the R ability and the X ability, kind of like Gum Gum Punch or Bazooka. Whichever one you want to relate it to, but better. They both block break, but Burning Mochi Punch does suck. I'll be honest. I've tried to land that thing so many times. And there's a bug, like, once you do the fist, you hold it out. Once you do wherever you were looking, and if you let go of the X, and you readjust your position while the animation is going, the move won't go with you. It'll go wherever you were, wherever as soon as you let go of the X ability was. And the Mochi ult, it does bad damage. It needs to do better damage for how flashy and cool that thing looks. And just in general, like 200 damage with 850 points into it is not that much, even for ultimates. But however, it's really good for team combos. I do have a video I made back then. It was like a month ago, or when the update 5 first came out. I have a video I showed Mochi Mara combo. That's a very busted combo. You hold Buzzcut and your Mara gets all the hits. I will say it's probably low S tier, not very high A tier for me. But I'm going to put it in low S, to be honest, if I can. Yeah. But pretty much that's my tier list. That's what I think of the fruits. So yeah, if you want, like and subscribe, put on those notifications. Appreciate it. We're on the road to 1K. And yeah, stay tuned. Peace.